I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 PM, and I'll call on Councillor Sentence to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattahawkwa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis and Inuit, people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor Sentence. Are there any declarations of interest? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Councillor Sentence and myself have a declaration that we must state, and that's item 12.3, the Thorold Community Credit Union. We're both members of the board, so we'll recuse from that.
Councillor Sentence, you have
Yep,
to declare
same.
your own conflict.
I declare a conflict, same thing.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Adoption of the agenda. I'll ask that we amend agenda to move item 14.3, amendments to the City of Thorold's complaint protocol motion to after business arising from closed session. Can I get a mover and a second to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Hanley and Councillor DeAngelo. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. Minutes from August 13th, 2024
There's none presented.
will be presented at the next council meeting.
I myself.
No, that's good. I just noticed it. Okay, so that's it. Mayor's report. CAO Manoj Dalwaria, Councillor Sentence, Councillor O'Hare and I attended the AMO conference, which is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in Ottawa, which ran from August 18th to 21st. We had productive delegations with the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Sport, and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. These strategic meetings aim to secure financial support for important projects and address pressing issues affecting our community. Additionally, we met with representatives from Hydro One, our service provider, to discuss important issues affecting our community like service interruptions, our growth, open lines of communications, and community engagement opportunities. On August 24th, I was joined by Councillors O'Hare, DeAngelo, Sentence, MP Vance Badaway, and MPP Jeff Birch at the 50th anniversary of the Port Robinson Bridge collapse, and that's bridge number 12. This event was held at the Darlene Ryan Port Robinson Community Center. It was a day to remember and celebrate a strong community united, East and West Port Robinson. It was followed by the Bridge Fest street dance and barbecue hosted by Bridge 12 Pub and Eatery. Thank you, Port Robinson Proud, for hosting this special day, the Port Robinson Community Center, and the Bridge 12 Pub and Eatery. On the evening of August 24th, I also attended the 50th anniversary celebration of the Thorold band, Fat Rabbit. And you have to be my age to appreciate this. This sold-out event was held at Club Capri, and it was great to connect with friends that I hadn't seen in years. The music was great as well. Thank you, Paul Muelli, for organizing this special evening and bringing community together. On August 27th, St. Catharines Mayor Matt Cisco and I presented certificates to Kumon instructor Gulsen Duzgin at the grand opening of their new location, the Kumon Math and Reading Center of Thorold, Glendale, and Merritt Street. This location is conveniently located to serve Thorold and South St. Catharines. On August 27th, I attended the celebration of life and legacy of Norris W. Walker held at the PAC Center in downtown St. Catharines. Norris passed away on January 27th, 2024, but it was only fitting that the celebration was held on his birthday, which is August 27th. After graduating university, Norris became a fourth-generation co-owner of Walker Industries. He was dedicated to his community and wanted to create positive change in Niagara, which he definitely accomplished. On August 30th, we held a flag raising for childhood cancer awareness at City Hall. I was joined by Councillor Sentence, Councillor Decker, Regional Councillor Whalen, city staff, as well as Patty Bauer and her group of volunteers who organized this initiative across the region. It is a time to reflect on how we can better understand and address the needs of children affected by cancer, as well as their families and caregivers. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, a time of year we and other municipalities honor children and survivors affected by pediatric cancer in order to raise awareness and continue the research and treatment of the disease. Childhood cancer remains the leading cause of death for children under the age of death by disease for children under the age of 14. The third annual Harvest Fest was held on September 7th at the TCAG on Richmond Street. The Knights of Columbus 2319 have created this September tradition, which brings community together and grows each year. On September 7th, I attended and spoke at the kickoff to Brock Care's Day of Service at Market Hall inside Brock University. I was joined by St. Catharines Deputy Mayor Bill Phillips. The Welcome Wagon Initiative is part of this day. Community partners, and ours included bylaw and fire departments, together with Brock students and Brock staff, visited various neighborhoods throughout Thorold and St. Catharines, handing out Welcome Wagon bags door to door. The bags contain useful information related to student housing, waste management, volunteering, local shopping, and other topics to set students and their neighbors up for a successful year. The goal of Welcome Wagon is to remind students about their responsibilities while living off campus and provide students and neighbors with the information and resources they need to have a positive experience while living off campus. The day culminated with a barbecue hosted by the downtown BIA at the Moose and Goose. Thank you, BIA Chair Serge Carpino and BIA Representative and City Councilor Mike Didavitas for doing the cooking. Councillor Sentence was there as well. Congratulations to the Thorold Minor Baseball 11 UD team who won the OBA championship on Labor Day weekend, and the Thorold Minor Baseball 13 UD team who were silver medal finalists on the same weekend. To all the players, coaches, and parents, once again, congratulations. Upcoming events. The Community Market Grand Finale will be held on Saturday, September 14th. That's this coming Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Battle of Beaver Dams Park. Free yoga, face painting, characters, licensed patio, food vendors, local farmers and artisans, as well as a fantastic tribute show featuring All About the Swifties and Treasure, a tribute to Taylor Swift and Bruno Mars. Don't miss this grand finale. Donation bins will be available at the park that day to collect non-perishable food items, diapers, etc. for community care. Every Child Matters is having a special free event to be held also Saturday, September 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Thorold Indigenous Unity Garden in the Millswart Lake Gibson Conservation Park. This event is sponsored by One Thorold, the Thorold Public Library, and the City of Thorold. Stop by before heading to the market finale. Thorold Flower Show Awards and Garden Contest Ceremony is being held on Saturday, September 21st from 1:30 to 3 p.m. at the Thorold Senior Center, hosted by the Thorold Garden Club, the Thorold Center 50+, which is the new name for the Thorold Senior Center, and the City of Thorold. There is still time to nominate your garden, your neighbor's garden, a local business garden, or planters for the garden contest. Also, the Housing for Seniors Information Forum presented by the Thorold Center 50+ and the Thorold Age Friendly Committee will be held on Thursday, September 26th at the Thorold Center 50+, once again formerly known as the Thorold Senior Center. This event is free to attend. Everyone is welcome. Doors open at 8:30 a.m. Forum runs from 9 a.m. till noon. For $5, you can stay and have a lasagna lunch to be served at 12:15. Please RSVP for Forum or Forum Plus Lunch at 905-227-2161 or thoroldseniorscenter@gmail.com. And that's the end of my mayor's remarks. Presentations. Up first, I'll call on Cindy Dixon, head organizer of the Thorold Terry Fox Run, for her presentation. Cindy, I didn't mention it in my mayor's remarks because I knew you were here to present today.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ugolini and members of council. Thank you so much for letting me speak this evening. Our annual Terry Fox Run is only 5 days away, and that being said, I truly wish you all and the community would come out and walk, run, or bike with us at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. This year's theme is No Matter What, which you can see by my shirt. His feelings were, no matter what challenges or circumstances may arise, we have to keep going. This is also a very special year for my family and Team Candace, as we are celebrating Candace's 10 years cancer-free. This would not have been possible without the funds raised by the Terry Fox Foundation. If you need inspiration to fundraise and come out Sunday, please watch the following video the foundation sent us to all the organizers to get us pumped up. Do we have to skip the video? That's okay if it's not working. I can explain to you what it's all about.
That's okay.
As I was introduced by Miss Martha, I am a 17-year-old high school student at All Saints Catholic Secondary School in Whitby, and I'm just wrapping up my grade 12 year and preparing for my first year at Trent University in Peterborough. Yeah. Anybody else here going to Trent? Yeah, there we go. There we go over there too. I will be studying political and legal studies there, which should be really fun. All Saints High School has been a proud supporter of the Terry Fox School Run and was recognized this month by the Terry Fox Foundation as the top fundraising school this year with $83,000 raised.
There we go.
In total, with this year's funding as well, All Saints has raised close to $634,000 in the last 19 years. Don't know if you guys want to clap for that one again. Fred, Lisa, and Wendy, they were all there and witnessed the amazing school spirit and celebration of this fundraising recognition when they visited All Saints this week. I am proud to be a part of this great community who has supported this important fundraiser for so many years. I'm also honored to have the opportunity to speak to you all today about my personal experience with the Terry Fox Foundation. In January 2022, just when I thought my life was getting back to normal after COVID, I was diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma, not leukemia, my apologies. And after finding a lump in my right thigh, which I thought was a sports injury, my amazing oncology team at Sick Kids quickly arranged for my chemotherapy treatments from February straight through to May. And let me tell you, they were very tough. The treatments were physically draining with lots of needles, tests, and medicine on a regular basis. And I even lost this amazing head of hair to go along with it. It was 4 very long months of limited school time, limited time with friends, and I even had to give up the rep volleyball team I was on. The 2nd year anniversary of my last chemo treatment and me ringing the bell at the hospital to say it was the last one was actually this week on May 23rd. Thank you. I am so grateful for the love and support I received from my families, friends, and teachers that helped me get through this difficult period, especially my mother, who is all the way back there, if you'd like to give a round of applause for her. And also for the man who currently couldn't make it because he is in Edmonton, Alberta, my father. I was going to say that before he gave the round of applause, but he doesn't need that much round of applause. Fortunately, the chemo sessions worked, as I am standing here today, and I didn't have to endure radiation treatments afterwards. And by July of that year, I was declared to be in remission and celebrated with the milestone with a massive party. Woohoo! And before you ask, no, the chemotherapy did not make me this tall. It was all genetics and the help of my father. The healing process began and continues to this day, as my heart and lung capacity have still not fully recovered from the effects of chemo. I am told that I will need regular checkups for the rest of my life, as well to ensure that the cancer does not return or gets treated immediately if it does. In November, I will have my last checkup at Sick Kids Hospital and will graduate from being under their care to a local team, as I will officially be an adult. I was first introduced to the story of Terry Fox at my very first school run in junior kindergarten. At an early age, I learned about his cross-country run across Canada on his Marathon of Hope with a prosthetic leg and countless challenges to raise awareness and funds for cancer research. Like many, I was in awe of his story and saw him as a true superhero for what he had wanted to accomplish. My family had contacted the Terry Fox Foundation last year in September after learning that I was now part of Terry's team, those who had overcome or are going through cancer. We are identified through this red symbolic shirt. I am proud to be part of this team, and it was the momentum I needed to reach my peak personal fundraising goal in my last year of All Saints, raising a total of $5,300. Thank you.
Okay, we can cut
guys
it
get
there,
much
I
more
think,
applause
because
than
it took
most,
us a
isn't it?
little while to get it going. I don't want to take the whole night. But what a remarkable story. Another beautiful success story of the advancements of the foundation and what they were able to do. A remarkable young man, another wonderful success story. I just wanted to raise the fact that to date, we have raised in the Thorold Run $383,457. We are really trying to get over that $400,000 mark. So I'm really hoping that everybody can come out on Sunday. It's really a fun vibe. The Pipers lead the way. We have the hot dogs after. Firefighters are there. It's just a really good morning. So it's this Sunday, obviously. We start promptly at 10 a.m. But before I leave, I just want to thank my counselors who have helped me in the past, who have made the day such a great success. I want to thank Ken Sentence, Tim O'Hare, and Nella Decker. And a special thank you to my husband, who runs around tirelessly doing signs, banners, food pickup, anything else that I require him to do. And another special thank you to the pro firefighters. We couldn't do the day without you. You keep the city streets safe, and we just couldn't have the protection without you there. And you give up your Sunday morning, so I really appreciate that. And the Pipers, what can I say? That is unique to the Thorold Run. And every year I've done it, everybody comes to me and says, "Thank goodness you had the Pipers. We wanted to have the Pipers," and they're coming back. So all is good, and I would love to see you all. And I also want to mention that I think last year I saw quite a few councillor members and their families come out and participate and be involved, and it just adds so much to that community aspect of it all. And we're celebrating a special year this year, and all Candace's friends are coming, and I just would love it if you would join us. So hopefully we see you Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and
You're
I'll see if we have questions. I got, first of all, Councilor DeRose and then Councilor Ham.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all you do. So happy for Candace. Congrats. It's awesome news. We'll be there in full force. And just a reminder to everybody, anybody watching, if you have kids at our school, Holy Rosary, we're having ours on the 27th on a Friday. So we've got over 800 kids now, so we should have a good turnout of and fundraising. But also, if anybody can donate to Team Candace, please go ahead. Thank you.
Councilor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a comment, I know where Candace comes from. I haven't been out there that often, but I also am a cancer survivor. I had thyroid cancer in 2019. September 19th will be 5 years, and I've been, I don't have to go every 2 years now, so I know what it knows to be a cancer survivor.
Very much. Councilor Didavita.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a comment and a question. Thank you for all the hard work and commitment, Cindy, you do to making this a success every year. And do you need anything from the community? Do you need help, volunteers? Do you need anything we can help out with?
If anybody wants to come that day and help lug cases of water, would take anybody. Anybody who wants to come and be part of it, absolutely. You can just show up that morning and just say, what can I do?
And can they
great.
bring donations like water or pop or something?
We already have our donators, and that's probably one of the things also that I should mention. We really have to give a good thanks to Big Red Market. They provide all the hot dogs and all the water, and Todd Marr at Foodland donates all the buns, condiments, and napkins so that we can have our barbecue after, and it's all free. So they are two huge community supporters of the Terry Fox Run.
Perfect. And a big thanks to yourself for doing all this hard work, and
No problem.
it's a big success every year because of you.
I don't want to, I think my time's probably up, but I just want to say, if you donate to Team Candace, it still all goes into the funds associated with the Thorold site. We are part of the Thorold site. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Just go to run.terryfox.ca, and then you can just search the Thorold site and you can donate directly to the Thorold site. Okay? Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Cindy, thank you for coming, and
Thank
so
you.
registration starts at 9, the run starts promptly at 10 a.m.,
Promptly
correct?
at 10 a.m.
And it's out of the Thorold Community Credit Union parking lot.
Right. yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, public school proposal, Rolling Meadows Community. I'll call on William Hycoop, Planning Manager, Upper Canada Consultants, for the presentation, and let him know that he has up to 10 minutes for your presentation. How are you, William?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks all of council for having me here this evening. As you know, I'm William Hycoop from Upper Canada Consultants. I'm here representing Rolling Meadows Land Development Corporation. Along with me here, I have Stacy Veld from the District School Board of Niagara, also my client, Glenn Gordon. We're here tonight to share some great news. The District School Board of Niagara has signed a purchase and sale agreement with Rolling Meadows to purchase a parcel of land in the Rolling Meadows subdivision for a new school on Uppers Lane. If you could, if the clerk could please bring up the graphic. The location has been outlined on the map on the screen in front of you here. You can see it's quite a large site outlined in red, just over 9 acres. The Rolling Meadows plan of subdivision has always included a place for a new school board site, and the city of Thorold has grown so much, specifically this area, over the last couple of years that the time has come to address this need. In order to move forward, a portion of Uppers Lane, the city's road allowance, approximately half a kilometer in length, will need to be constructed to accommodate the new school site. In order to move forward with construction, an agreement will need to be entered into with the city in order to facilitate this extension of Uppers Lane across in a easterly direction to the land outlined in red. This agreement will be very similar to the agreements used in the last 16 phases of development for Rolling Meadows. This one will be a bit simpler, as it will not need to include any building lots and will just facilitate the construction of the roadway. Meetings have taken place with staff that have resulted in Upper Canada Consultants being able to submit detailed engineering drawings of the road to city staff for their approval. It is the intention of Rolling Meadows to start the roadworks as soon as possible for completion by the end of the year to meet the timelines associated with the purchase and sale agreement. Therefore, we respectfully request that Council direct staff to prepare the necessary agreement allowing these works and the extension of Uppers Lane to move forward. I'll end my presentation there, but I appreciate your time this evening. I'm certainly here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the Rolling Meadows draft plan, and Stacy from the DSBN is also here to answer any questions related to the school site. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, William, and I'll open the floor up now for questions to the presenter. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. So you're asking us tonight, if I hear you right, to pass a motion forward in regards to going into an agreement with the city of Thorold with a development agreement for the road?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll wait for all comments before I ask for this to be brought up under notice of motion.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Councillor Sentence next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Thanks for the presentation. This is fantastic news for Thorold South. To say it's overpacked there isn't giving it its due. So we enter into this, what you're asking tonight, and then you work with the city, and the city can do their part, you do your part, and we figure everything out. That's all that's being asked here tonight, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. Uppers Lane is currently a city's road allowance. It's not improved or not constructed. So ultimately, we need to enter into an agreement with the city in order for the developer to construct that road.
Okay, thank you. And again, Stacy, this is great news. Thank you.
Councillor DeRose and then Councillor DeAngelo.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question for Stacy. Stacy, can you give me any specifics about the school, just the approximate enrollment that's expected? I'm over at Holy Rosary, and we're bursting with over 800 now. And I'm just curious, this is great news. Of course, I wish it was with our board, but it's all good. But I just wanted to know, do you have any enrollment?
So I'm going to get Stacy to state your name and position with the DSBN.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Stacy Val, Director of Education with the District School Board of Niagara. Nice to see you all again. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share a little information about this. So through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may address the question. So last year we did present to our trustees through our long-term accommodation plan the need for a school in this specific subdivision. Currently, this area is boundary to Ontario Street Public School, and we're so excited about the growth that's happening here in Thorold and our opportunity to jump on this development. We are prepared and ready to look to construct an approximate 700 pupil place school on this property. The intention would be for us to open for September 2027 through our planning process. We are certainly engaging with the Ministry of Education on their platform of building schools faster. So we've got plans in place, development. We've been able to work incredibly well with the Rolling Meadows development, and as was stated, entered into a conditional offer of agreement of purchase and sale. So the remaining piece is this road to be developed to allow us to move forward with the construction of that school. So.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor
Just a
DeRose.
follow-up, now that you brought that up, so in essence, the road development's a barrier at this point?
It is, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
need that infrastructure in place.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Councillor DeAngelo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Exciting news. It's always great to hear a school opening in Thorold as opposed to one closing, so it's great news. My question is, it sounds like it's going to be replacing the Ontario school. It's just a little clarity on what it's replacing, what's the age group that's going to be there, and then I have some secondary questions with that. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely not. Ontario Street will continue, and we'll have students. This is an additional school, elementary, JK to 8.
Okay.
So it is a new school. Nothing is closing or changing for Ontario Street. We just need to accommodate this development of housing.
Okay, that's even better news that it's not,
Absolutely.
the other school's not closing. Just in terms of the land size, I know it was up on the map there. Is there going to be any sports facilities that are going to be included, and I'm really talking about a sports field, because I know at this present time, the city's working with the DSMBN regarding a sports facility field in downtown or in the urban part of Thorold. But we're also looking for an additional one possibly out in the Rolling Meadows area. Is there a way that there can be any collaboration so that we're not building too many of these sports fields and work together? Is there land available on the school property, or is it in your planning stages, is it just going to be for the school with some playground equipment? Is that what the intent is? Or is there something bigger there that the city can work with you?
Mr. Mayor, always happy to collaborate with the city staff and see what we can do together for the school. This is an elementary school, so it would contain our typical elementary ancillary items: soccer field, playground space, tarmac, basketball, and that's the standard process that we have for elementary schools. But absolutely, I think we have a great working relationship with the staff at the city, and we would collaborate on all of those things, absolutely.
That's great news,
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor. I think there's some opportunity there to work to make sure that we're improving the amenities that are out in that area. And if we can use taxpayers' money in a 2 cents, both the school tax and the city tax, and improve the situation out there in terms of providing amenities, I think it's beneficial for everyone. So I think there's some great opportunity here. And I think working with the city staff, working with the school board, I think, there could be a possibility there. So I'm excited to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Didovine.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Stacy. I know the DSBN always puts the students first in every decision they make. In this new school, will they have an outdoor area for a classroom outside? Like you see a lot of new schools have that.
Absolutely. What I would say is that comes to fruition through the principal and the school community and parent council. They work collaboratively to involve students in any of those outdoor classroom type settings, but there will be sufficient space outside for that to be a collaborative effort of that school and students.
Okay, thank you. This is very exciting news.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy, you mentioned a 2027 date, fall of 2027 for opening. When would construction start?
So certainly, certainly the timelines are still developing as we go through this process. So we're working collaboratively with the developer. We have our approval processes, and then we would come in and work with the staff here for site plan permits and things like that.
So it's
So
safe-
I don't have a firm start on that at this point in time, but certainly we go from that opening date and work
Okay,
backwards.
so it's safe to say construction's not starting at least before next spring?
I'm going to say probably the spring would be the anticipated time by the time we get through all the approval processes, but we are very successful in having all of our plans and timelines in place for that, so, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else? One more, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy, do you need a decision from us tonight for funding or anything like that? Does our decision impact anything?
Yeah, yes, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, your decision tonight on the road and the agreement with the city does impact the timing, so not necessarily funding, but the approval for Rolling Meadows to have that agreement with the town is the important piece this evening.
Okay, any further questions? I got Councillor O'Hara first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy, thank you for coming in. This is really wonderful news. I think all councilors are echoing that. And one of the things that I see is that it also helps the development of Rolling Meadows attract more services. And it's the old logic of if you build it, they will come. So I really think this is something that's needed. And it's a wonderful story. The portables that are at Ontario School right now, I would assume they'd be able to reduce the number there, and some of those overflowing students may be able to reestablish themselves at the new school eventually. Is that some of the thinking behind this?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So, as is in all of our growth areas, through you, Mr. Mayor, portables are the strategy that is used to address the capacity concerns with new development specifically. So currently, this area is boundaried to Ontario Street. That's why the portables are coming to help that. When we present the plan for the school, it includes the boundary. The intention is that this school will relieve that portable pressure, and those students would go to the new school once it's built. That is within that Rolling Meadows. So yes, there will be a time where the portables will remain at Ontario Street. Sufficient land to do that, and we appreciate the city's support with having them there. They will be not necessary when the new school is opened.
Great, great news. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Decker.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. This is great news, and thank you for sharing all the information. And it's true, once you build a school, then other amenities follow. So I guess my next question is do we put a motion forward then?
Councillor Hanley's getting ready. He's waiting for this debate
Okay.
or questions to be
Yep.
asked. I see, Councillor Longo, did you have your hand up again? Councillor Longo, did you? Oh.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I was kind of going to ask a question along this time frame here and what's requested of us tonight, because Mr. Highcoop had said, and I'll try to form this in a question, that he wants the city staff to work with Rolling Meadows to put together an agreement, I guess. So I guess my question is that what we're aiming to do? But I guess I'll let Councillor Hanley put his motion forward, and hopefully that's the direction we're going.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's time, and Councillor Hanley, you can put a motion forward, but then once,
I have to waive the procedure by law.
we gotta waive the procedure first.
Right.
Okay? So Councillor Hanley wants to bring a motion forward. We need, because we have to waive the procedure to do that, and we need a 2/3 vote. So the vote we're having right now is strictly on what's on the screen, that we're only voting to waive the procedure, okay? And then we'll deal with the motion after that, okay? Go ahead, Ken.
My question is just time sensitivity. So we have to pass tonight an agreement to open the road allowance. It has to be passed tonight? Because normally what we do is we send this to staff to come back with a staff report. Our next council meeting's October 1st, but we're asked to waive that, and we're gonna deal with it tonight without looking at anything?
We've done 60
The
pages.
agreement, they will work on the agreement. That's what the motion's gonna be after we waive the procedure.
Okay, but is the agreement gonna come back to council at the next council meeting? for approval?
We'll talk about that once we waive the procedure.
Well, it makes.
Well, it's part of the discussion when that hits the floor, Council,
I can,
okay? We're just waiving the procedure to put a motion on the floor, and then we'll debate the motion, and you can ask those questions, Council. Okay, so the vote now is vote yes or no to waive the procedure, and can I get a mover as Councillor Hanley, seconder Councillor Sentence? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We had more, it was unanimous. So now, Councillor Hanley can put the motion on the floor.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to put a motion forward in regards to this. Whereas DSBN has identified the city of Thorold as in need of a new school, and whereas DSBN and Rolling Meadows Land Corporation have signed a land sale agreement, And whereas since 2010, Rolling Meadows Land Corporation has constructed all roads within its plan of subdivision. And whereas the corporation, the city of Thorold and Rolling Meadows Land Corporation entered into agreements in each of the previous 16 phases of development. Therefore, be it resolved that staff for the corporation, the city of Thorold, enter into a development agreement with Rolling Meadows Land Corporation for the section of Uppers Lane required for the development to move forward as soon as possible.
And that development being the school? Do you want to
That development being the
stipulate?
school.
Okay.
And if I could just comment on that. There's been 16 phases of development in regards to road construction, and council has never actually requested a report be made in regards to that. That's always been part of the plan of subdivision. And the land needs to be, some brought it up, that needs to be severed or whatever. That can be after the fact, or it can be just registered on deed. There's two ways of going about it, so just to let you know that.
So that is your motion. I need a
Yes.
seconder for that motion. I've got Counselor Decker. Okay, now, we can debate the motion. So questions to the motion, or anybody have anything they want to comment on? Go ahead, Counselor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So from clarity from Councilor Hanley, if I could. So he's requesting that city staff and Rolling Meadows come to an agreement and bring it back to our next council meeting?
Actually, the 16 previous phases, I found out, the land agreement or a subdivision of agreement has been dealt with through staff, and it then comes to council for approval. So it's basically what we've done in the first 16 phases. This is just adding the road, which Glen Gordon or Corporation has been building since 2010. They've been building roads there for 14 years. Council, it's only come to council for approval through report and consent motions. It's never really been under discussion because the development or the, in 2010, the land of subdivision, the lands were already designated, what I found out in 2008. Since 2008, the Rolling Meadows Land Corporation has the site reserved for the DSPN. So it's already part of the plan of subdivision that was submitted to the city 16 years ago. We just need to get the road there.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll ask the question again. Will this come back at the next council meeting in the form of a report?
Well, you'll have to ask staff that because I'm not the staff member. I'm just putting the motion forward here tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to direct a question to staff. Is it normal process for staff to work out an agreement either through staff and legal counsel and bring it back to council for approval?
And so you're directing this at Jeff
Staff.
Holman?
I'm directing to whoever can answer the question.
Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. We'll follow your direction if that's the direction of council. I do want to say, though, if I can, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
the proposal in front of you is to propose a 500-meter-long cul-de-sac. And I think it's in the council's best interest to consider options to extend the road entirely out to Thorold Town Line Road, because without that missing piece, we're going to have traffic challenges on Barker Parkway and on Uppers Lane. And I'd like to have those options explored and explained to you in the staff report. And that might take a bit of time, but if the direction is to have something for October 1st, we'll present the whole picture to you.
Go ahead,
If I could
Counselor.
just comment.
Yeah.
Well, we all know that the existing road allowance already is there. So all we need is, as a council, to pass a motion to open up the road allowance, just as we would on Davis Street, just as we would on Uppers Lane. So the actual road allowance is already there. It just needs for council to approve to extend the road, I believe, to Thorold Town Line Road. That's the objective, right?
Yes, but that's going to require a commitment from council to extend, to finish the road. So what's being proposed here is just to build the road halfway.
But we've already built, if I can comment through you, Mr. Mayor, but we've already built roads halfway. Just as we've already done works on Uppers Lane, and then as development occurs, we open up the road allowance further. We would not necessarily have to build that road completely through at this time. We just need to make sure that at the end of that road presently is a cul-de-sac. We're just gonna make it a thoroughfare.
Mr. Mayor, that's certainly one of the options, but
Yeah.
you may want to consider doing that sooner rather than later, recognizing the congestion we're already experiencing in Rolling Meadows subdivision.
So regardless, Mr.
But I
Mayor.
think that this ask
Yeah.
is just to the school right now.
That's right.
Am
So
I
we have to,
correct?
we have to recognize the fact, regardless, this road has to be built. And regardless, in the future, the council is gonna have to decide whether we're gonna extend that road to Thorold Town Line Road. So at the present, we can start the negotiations and at the same time, have a continuing report come back to council in regards to the road extension and even bring it as a budget item in 2025 if we need to.
Mr. Mayor, I think I had the floor still.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just answering the questions.
So I'll just,
I didn't know if you got your answer, sorry.
well, no, I guess a little bit, but I'll just make a comment at this point. Obviously, everybody in this room wants to see a school built. I'm of the opinion that you need to do things properly and consistently. It sounds like there's a little bit of apprehension from staff. Is this the proper way to do it? I don't know if it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But I don't see how 3 weeks can hurt. I believe we should give staff time to do a fulsome report. If we need to talk to legal counsel to make sure they're on board with this, great, get it done in 3 weeks. Bring it back to us to the next meeting. Let's put a stamp on it and let's move. But we've made decisions in the past, rushed. I had no idea this was coming up in this form tonight. I knew there was talk of it. Wasn't on the agenda. It's a pretty big decision. I'm sure a kilometer of roadway costs a little bit of money. So we need to understand all the implications and how it gets done. So that's just my comment on it. I think we need to just pump the brakes a little bit. 3 weeks isn't a long time. I don't think it's gonna make or break a school that's gonna open in October, September of 2027.
I come back to you,
I'll give the floor back to council.
well, no, I'm gonna come back to Counselor Hanley after, but Counselor Dendabidis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for Jeff. What are the cost-sharing terms of the road being built?
There's none. Developer pays for it all.
Through Mr. Mayor, the proposal is to fund the project through development charges that we've collected to date. So this upgrading of Uppers Lane has been identified in our previous background study and in the current background study. So the majority of the costs, I'll have to confirm whether it's 100%, would be used then to pay for the cost of construction.
That's a piece of road to the school, am I correct, when you talk about DCs, or the whole section?
Well, there are certain funds that have been collected as part of the previous bylaw, and we'll have to look at what the total cost might be and how they might be funded over, as the development in Rolling Meadows builds out.
Okay, are you done, Counselor? Yes, thank you. Counselor O'Hare, I got you, don't worry, you're
Thank you,
gonna
Mr.
go.
Mayor. Could I redirect a question to Stacy?
Sure.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Stacy. Stacy, do you have a hard and fast date in mind where this agreement has to be in place, or else it's a canceled deal? Do you have something that we can work with? Councilor Longo has suggested that a report comes back to council in 3 weeks. Are we putting something in jeopardy here by waiting for our staff's report?
Yes, I am, through you, Mr. Mayor, going to defer that to our consultants that are working with the developer on this. I can say that what we're trying to do is work collaboratively to make an efficient and effective process through the continued development and through our needs to be able to get infrastructure to the site, but I will please pass it over to the experts.
Go ahead, William.
If I may, thank you. So just in terms of if the DSBN is looking to start construction of the school this coming spring, in order to close the purchase and sale agreement, there's a clause that we deliver the land and the constructed road within a 120-day timeline. That basically puts it at the end of this year. So if we're not able to construct the roadway in an expeditious manner, then we're not going to be able to get asphalt down on that roadway before the snow flies. Asphalt plants usually close sometime in the middle of December. So if we're not able to have that completed and things get delayed well into the spring, it could push the DSBN's timeline back. And we already have a very aggressive schedule with trying to open for September 27.
September 27th is when you'd like to start, or you're talking about the future opening of the school?
I'm talking about the future opening of the school.
Yeah. Okay, so what date would you like this agreement in place so that you can start? What is your final target date?
As soon as possible, but the works will take at least 3 months to be completed. So we've got to have this finished within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So if we were to delay this 3 weeks to the next council meeting, that would put our ability to get asphalt down before the end of December in jeopardy, and then would ultimately not be able to put asphalt down until the asphalt plant opens at the end of April, beginning of May. And then at that point in time, would the school board be able to start constructing the school? So it does throw a bit of a monkey wrench into the timeline. At this point in time, we have prepared engineering drawings that have been shared with staff for review. And we've started in discussions in terms of providing a draft agreement that we typically do. So just in terms of clarity to Councilor Longo's question, typically these agreements are delegated authority to staff. So that would be something that would be not brought forward typically back to council. That would be something that would be executed without, because that authority has been delegated to staff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could ask, is this common practice for the city to seek legal advice to open up our own road allowances? Through you to a member of staff? I don't believe, in all honesty, I've been here for over 20 years, that we've ever had to get a legal opinion to open up a city road that the city already owns. I want to know if that has occurred in the past, that every time we open up a road allowance, do we get a legal advice first, whether or not we can do it? It's our city road, we own it.
I don't know if that's what they're looking for, or whether they're looking for legal to look at the agreement. Maybe that clarity can.
Well, and again, if I could do a follow-up for that, we've signed 16 previous agreements in every phase of the development, and in every phase, roads have been constructed, and never has it come to council where we need to get a legal opinion that I know of to do such. That's just my why.
Do you have a question to staff regarding that?
Yeah, is this regular practice through you, Ms. Mayor, to a staff member, that we get legal advice to open up a city-owned road allowance?
Go ahead, Manoj.
Yeah, so, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Handley, whenever we sign any agreement, not road allowance or anyone, whenever we sign a legal agreement, we just want a legal counsel to review it so that our city's interest is protected.
Okay, excuse me, that's my point. We've already signed 16 agreements. So
No,
this,
no, but
so we
the-
have a template.
The agreement goes to our legal.
Yeah,
For
I know.
review.
No.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
every-
if you sign a offer to purchase, and
But-
you have a lawyer,
But when we opened up Barker Parkway,
you know.
it was one phase and we had to get an agreement signed. So to me, I'm just thinking that an agreement's like a template. We already have an agreement in place. We just have to modify it a little. Whatever council wants to do is their decision. I just put the motion on the floor.
Go ahead, our Director of Finance, Maria Morrow's online, and I'll let her.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could respond to Councillor Hanley, further to CAO comments. It is an agreement, so we do need our legal to review it. Beyond the normal agreements that are being referred to, there is a request that the development charges be refunded to the developer. Therefore, we do need a legal agreement to be undertaken by our solicitor.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Diage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a lot of questions here, because new information's coming forward. that I'm learning this evening. One was, well, Maria just mentioned it, it's gonna be funded by development charges, and I know our Director of Operations mentioned that too. So the whole road's gonna be fully funded as development charges, but is it gonna be fully funded as a cul-de-sac? Or is a road that has a possibility of going forward, a straight thorough road? I guess the engineering design of it's sort of important, because if we're gonna continue with going forward, why would we build a cul-de-sac, take it out of development charges, and then rebuild the road again later to meet traffic? I know there's time constraints of moving this forward, and I agree with Councillor Hanley that this should be moved to staff to expedite it in the sense of the urgency to do it, because it's a good news story for us. But I'm a little confused on how much of the detail of the council is going to get involved with this. I don't know if I necessarily need to report back to next council. I brought that up because at the time when I brought it up, I didn't know what we were going to debate, so that's where I was questioning that. So if we're just giving staff direction to get this legal agreement ratified, which is what they've been doing in the past, I'm okay with that. That's all we're trying to do here.
And I
But-
think
but
that's
it-
the ask, that's the ask.
Well, but if there's financial ramifications later, because if the ask is just to build the road as is, as a cul-de-sac, it's different than to build the roads as an extension road. So those are critical, because that'll have cost implications. So maybe that's where a bit of staff collaboration could work with this. If it's our intent, and I guess staff is looking for the direction of council, are we intending on opening the road allowance up to Town Line Road to alleviate traffic concerns later? Because if not, Councillor DeRose and myself will definitely see this at the Road Safety Committee as a concern in a couple of years, that the traffic's not flowing there. So is that what I'm just getting sort of pieces here, is through you, Mr. Mayor, to our staff, is that what I'm hearing, is the concern is basically how the road is going to be designed? I don't think there's a question here that we want to build the road, but what road are we going to build so we don't build it twice? That sort of is my question through you to our staff, if it could be answered.
I'll turn that over to either Sean or to Jeff. I guess the question, what he's concerned about, is if we build the road to the school, what is our future plan? Do we stop it there? Is it a cul-de-sac, or do we go forward on the next portion? But I think it's a bigger ask, and that has more budgetary concerns, I'm sure, if you want to speak on it.
Mr. Mayor, correct. Those are the options that we'd like just to take a little bit of time to pursue, to see whether or not it's something that we want to make as a priority in 2025 as a city, or is it something we want the developer to do on our behalf? Because it's not just the road, it's also the infrastructure underneath, the sanitary sewers, the water mains, the storm sewers. And all of those have impacts on, the rest of the system and how it operates. So, we'll absolutely have an agreement as one of the options to move ahead, because we recognize the sensitivity and the timelines there as one of the options. But we think that to do our job, it's important to let you know what the alternatives might be, because if we make a decision based on what's proposed to us, it might impact what's going to happen in our 2025 and 2026 capital budgets.
You still have the floor.
Yeah, I guess sort of a follow-up to that. Okay, we give staff direction to go get this agreement done. What happens if they can't come to an agreement with the developer? Is it gonna come back to council, or is it just gonna work it, that's where I'm a little confused. We're just giving them direction to get the agreement completed. They have to do their due diligence, and it takes a bit of time from what I'm understanding for the due diligence. What happens if that due diligence is past the next council meeting and it hasn't been ratified? So that's why I sort of thought, if there's a goal to have it at the next council meeting, at least we're gonna make sure it's moving forward at that time, and all the obstacles are taken out of the way and appropriately, in an appropriate fashion. And if there's costs associated, then council could sort of deliberate that. I like to see this being worked on as soon as possible, but again, when is that gonna be done? So I guess my question is, if we give staff direction to do the agreement, when is a logical timeline of that agreement being completed?
So if we give you that guidance, I think the guidance, what's being asked, is the guidance to get an agreement to build the road to the school. The things that you're bringing into play, which make a lot of sense, is, you know, the other part about extending the road to Thorold Town Line Road, and that, can that be two separate asks? I guess that's my question to staff. So that we look after the immediate ask, but then understand that we have to look at the bigger picture as well, and that's the finishing, likely, or whatever staff would say, is finishing the road through the town line so that we alleviate concerns with traffic and other issues. Does that make sense? Let me.
Yes, yeah, no, I understand the intent here, and I think there's really three options. One is we accept the proposal, one is we look at a request to extend the scope of the work to, you know, to Thorold Town Line Road, if the developer's willing to do that. Or the third is for us to construct it ourselves. Each one has their advantages and disadvantages, but, you know, we have to think about emergency response. We need to think about, you know, future maintenance, and that's all part of this process. And even though this is an excellent opportunity, and I don't think, as you said before, Mr. Mayor, it's important that we establish where the school is going to be, because that'll help us determine how the trails are going to be connected and how all the property and the road patterns are going to be constructed. But we need to make sure that that we understand that making a decision on just building the 500 meters of road, what it means in terms of what it's going to force us to do in the next 2 years to finish that work off.
Go ahead, Councillor Hand.
I don't know about forcing us. The ask is to build the road to the school. We can dead-end it there. If you went out to Rolling Meadows while they were building it, there was a lot of streets that were dead-ended until the subdivision was done. Then they took down the guardrail and extended the road. So I think for us to go and get an agreement in place to build that 480 meters of road, regardless, we need that 480 meters of road, regardless if we extend it to Town Line Road, regardless what the city wants or future plans are. If we want this to come to fruition, as stated, we need to act on just an agreement to get the road to the school. The road's already there, the road allowance is already there, it's just the construction of the road. I believe Rolling Meadows has built all the roads previous to that. I don't believe the city's built one road within that subdivision yet. So for us to take on the responsibility of building a road within that subdivision, you know, I'll ask that question. Has the city, you know, I don't have to, because I know we have not built one road within that subdivision. It's all been the developer who's done it. We've only assumed ownership of it once the section of the development's been completed, as we do in all plans of subdivision. So my motion is just to get the road there. You know, they say it's not till 2027. We can put the road there. We already know where the school is. They showed us where the land is. We don't need to guess where it is. We already know where the paths are. They're out there building them right now. And not to take away from staff, but in order for this to move forward, I think for council to approve just to the district school board property and dead-end it, we don't need to build a cul-de-sac. I'll tell you honestly, I believe we need to go all the ways through, because we got Rudanco Corporation getting ready to do a big development there. We have Park Ridge getting ready to do a big development, and it's all in the proximity of that school. So I believe my motion is fulfilling what we can do as a council to move forward. Education is a big part of any community. And we have a great opportunity here, and I believe we need to grasp the opportunity while it sits in front of us. So I'll leave my motion as it is.
Okay. I got Councillor Sentence in it. Huh?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So I'll go back to what I said earlier. What we're doing here tonight would be asking staff to enter, to get into the details of an agreement with Rolling Meadows and the school board, which would entail lawyers and checking boxes and stuff like that. That is part of the agreement process. Would that be correct? Jeff? Yeah?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I believe that's what's being asked of us. Yes.
Okay, so.
To the school, though.
To the school. I understand to the school. I get to the school, and we can you know, I think we can deal with the other stuff later, but as far as the lawyers and people checking into these things, that will be taken care of through this. It's not us telling you just sign the paper. Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor Dennevis.
I was just the same what Ken was just about to say also. It's a lot to be dropped on council tonight. It's a lot of information to absorb. And I see Jeff's point there. There's a lot of cost here too. I'm totally for this project. I want to see it up and going, but we can wait a couple of weeks just to do a little bit of homework. It could be wise.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on that? Go ahead, Councillor Dean.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, is it possible to put the motion up? Do we have it ready to see? I'd like to be able to read through it while we're discussing, if it is. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a copy of the motion as Councillor Handley has read it. Perhaps that may be appropriate.
Mr. Mayor, through you, I read it again. So I state that whereas DSPN has identified the city of Thorold as in need of a new school, and whereas DSPN and Rolling Meadows Land Corporation have signed a land sale agreement, and whereas since 2010, Rolling Meadows Land Corporation has constructed all roads within its plan of subdivision, and whereas the corporation, the city of Thorold and Rolling Meadows Land Corporation entered to an agreement in each of the previous 16 phases of development. Therefore be it resolved that staff for the corporation and the city of Thorold enter into a development agreement with Rolling Meadows Land Corporation for the section of upper lanes required for the development to move forward.
The school to move forward, I think.
For the school to move forward.
So the motion is taking the road to the school.
Yes.
There's a bigger concern here, which Jeff has mentioned, which is what we do from the school to Thorold Town Line Road. If we do this motion, we can move forward on that when they get an agreement, which won't come back to council, but can still work on the other part. In the meantime, that's one option. Or the other option is to look at it as a whole. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused on staff. Like, it's great to get the agreement, but what's the agreement gonna be? A cul-de-sac or a thorough road? Like, is that part of the agreement?
That's why we can't, we're sitting here negotiating as counselors. That's why we need to get staff to do it, I think, so they can negotiate and decide whether it's going to be a cul-de-sac or a dead-end road. As Jeff said, he's made it clear that we need to discuss that. So.
Well, if it's just part of the agreement and staff's gonna do that, I have no issue with that, so leave it in staff's hands. But if there's gonna be costs associated and other items that are gonna be done and it needing a phasing in approach, can we then get
A second
report
agree.
regarding
I think
that?
that's prudent.
So we have the agreement that moves everything forward, but we're looking now, what are the next steps that the city's gonna be responsible for in terms of that road? Like, is the DC gonna cover the rest of the road? When will it be built? And, because I know we have the school that's anticipated 2027, well, then we have to look at that a little sooner than later, so
Do you want a separate report back on that? How do you want to?
Well,
I think it's prudent to get that.
Yeah, I think it's critical because it also helps staff addressing some of the elements of the agreement, knowing what they're sort of gonna be doing over the next couple of years, as opposed to just saying, okay, let's build this road and there it is. So, I don't know if you want it as part B of this motion, or if you want a separate motion,
How would you?
which is a separate report. And that's gonna take a bit of time, so I don't expect that one to come back in 3 weeks.
No, that part's not coming
Unless
back.
you're gonna work miracles here, but I see a no on a miracle on this one. So I think more than 3 weeks will be adequate.
I think that's something that we need in place for budget, though.
Yeah, I think it would be a priority knowing that we're moving forward with this decision.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest through you, Mr. Mayor, is that it be brought as a separate amended motion. So is my understanding is to proceed with entering into the necessary agreements and directing staff to prepare a report for council respecting further easterly extension of Uppers Lane? Is that?
I think.
Okay, I can put that on the screen. I have it drafted now, and you can take a look. Give me one
I
second.
want to make sure everybody's clear and that you're happy with the language, okay? Is everybody good with that? So basically what that says is they enter into agreement to build the road to the school, and then staff be directed to prepare a report further easterly extension of Uppers Lane, which would end at Thorold Town Line Road.
Yeah, I'm happy with that because we're dealing with what needs to be done right away to move that and give staff that direction. The second part is what council really needs to focus on is how that's going to be implemented over the next couple of years to alleviate, like I said, traffic concerns, emergency vehicle concerns, other issues that are not being addressed with item number 1.
Okay.
So if that's moved by Councillor D'Angelo, you want to do a second?
Or does he take that as a friendly amendment? I'll take it as a friendly. Then we don't have to do that. Okay? Are you good with that? Go ahead, Councillor Longo, did you want to speak now?
Yes. It's just a quick question to staff. Excuse me. Just want to make sure if we go ahead and build this road to a dead end at this point, and we decide it needs to be extended to Thorold Town Line Road later, would it be built in the same standard, by meaning width, bike lanes, sidewalks, now as it would be if we were planning to extend it?
Through Mr. Mayor, yeah, I think we'd want to build it once.
So that's my question. So is the proposal to build it the right way now?
That's an option, through Mr. Mayor, that's an option that council has here. And we haven't really had that conversation with the developer, whether he wants to build the entire thing. I think the developer's commitment to DSBN is just to build the road across the frontage of the new school site.
Okay.
But we'd like to look at other options so
And
that we can address service.
And that's what I think is important, Mr. Mayor. If we're going to allow this, we need to make sure that the developer builds a road that's suitable for a high traffic volume that would flow through the entirety of Barker Parkway right to Thorold Town Line Road.
Well,
So
that-
I don't want a road built that's not built properly, and then in 5 years, it's up to us to widen it, add bike lanes, sidewalks. We need to make sure it's done properly, and I hope this agreement has that language in there.
Well, I would suggest, and I agree with you, but I would say that agreement would have that in there,
Well,
understanding
But that wasn't said tonight, Mr. Mayor, and I don't want to come back
You
with,
can ask that, we can ask that question, but it's a
Okay.
good question. But I agree with you, you want to make sure the piece you're building is going to be suitable when the road's extended to the end and it accommodates everything in the future.
so can I make a friendly amendment that the wording's put in there that this roadway is built to the standards required?
You can. If Councillor Hanley's, I think he'll be okay.
I believe it would be built to the standards required anyways, because the
Yeah.
roads have, we're bound by legislation on how the road needs to be constructed anyways.
So if you want to
So I'll
add
add
that, you're
that.
fine with it,
Good.
Yeah.
correct?
If Counselor Hanley will add that, that'll make
Yeah.
me feel a bit better.
No,
I'm
then
good with
that's
that.
fine. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that everybody's happy with what we're voting.
I think we know that it's a main artery, and also, to add to the discussion, like I said earlier, we have other developers that are probably gonna need that road anyways. Okay. Collectively working together.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I've just added a new
Part
second paragraph there. So you can take a look and,
Are you good with that, Councillor Longo?
It makes me feel a little bit better, Mr. Mayor.
It's not traffic needs, just the standards. Roadway standards.
Road standards. Road standard? What do you want?
Roadway standards, yeah.
Long-term what? Jeff?
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, you're asking staff to prepare and enter into an agreement with Rolling Meadows Development Corporation?
That's correct.
Okay. That probably should be in the language as well.
It was in the original motion that Councillor Hanley had.
It's not the long-term roadway standard. It's in accordance with the road standards, roadway standards. Just take the long-term out.
But in accordance with the road standards
roadway
and
standards.
needs in the area.
Just the
Okay?
long-term.
Okay, is that what you want? Okay?
Okay.
Councillor Longo, it's road standards according to our traffic expert over here, Manoj.
He's a planner.
Well, he was the road guy at the region, eh, so. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
I just want to make sure I'm clear what the needs of the area represent. Does that include traffic calming measures? I know I'm getting into the weeds here a little bit, but, you know, when we don't have a report in front of us, 2 years from now, the weeds are important. And every road is now being sort of questioned about traffic calming measures. You can ask Councillor
Well, I
DeRose.
think those are incorporated into the design. Am I correct, Sean? Is that, we're a little better than we used to be. I know that, or a lot better, I should say.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, normally, yeah, we would have traffic calming measures built into the roads, but in a road like this, which is gonna be an arterial, some traffic calming is not appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, long as it's being addressed by.
And then there's special standards by schools as well, as far as speed reduction.
I just want to make sure the needs of the area is what's
Yeah,
going to cover
yeah,
that component.
yeah.
If that is, I'm comfortable with it. Thank you.
So,
Okay, so we're good with everything there?
so
And
just to
what-
be clear, it's a friendly amendment, Mr.
The
Mayor?
friendly amendment, Counselor, friendly amendment?
I'm good with it.
And you had, who was Counselor sentenced your seconder back then, or? I want to make sure.
Counselor
Oh, it
Counselor
was
Decker.
Counselor Decker. Okay, so we have that now in front of us. We've had a good discussion. The language, I think everybody's happy with. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Took us a while to get there, but we got there. Now, we have delegation, and thank you for waiting, Dana. So I call on Dana Edwards, Planning Consultant, Q9 Planning and Design, for your delegation on DS 37, 2024, 75 Ormond Street South, recommendation report, and you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Dana Edwards. I'm a registered planner and urban designer with Q9 Planning and Design. Tonight, I am here asking council to approve the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 75 Ormond Street South. I will be presenting an overview of the project, outlining the changes that we have made since we last appeared before council in February. And lastly, myself and our consulting team will be available to answer any questions that you have for us this evening. Next slide, please. So the subject site has frontage on Richmond Road, Ormond Street, Linden Street, It's north of Highway 58. It's about 300 meters west of the Welland Canal and 300 meters south of the downtown. The site's located on a transit route and is directly served by a bike lane that runs in front of the property along Ormond Street South. Next slide, please. On February 27th, we brought this project in front of council and heard comments and feedback from members of the public and councilors. So since that meeting, we've gone back to the drawing board and made some adjustments to our proposal to address some of the comments received. Here's how we've addressed the feedback. With respect to affordability, we have provided a mix of units from 1-bedroom to larger 4-bedroom units to address a variety of price points. At this point, we're still happy to be targeting a price range of low 400s to high 600s, which provides units priced below the $500K median price point for condos in Thorold. Secondly, a tall building and shade analysis was provided to the City of Thorold, which demonstrates that there are no significant impacts on adjacent properties on the sidewalk or on public realm spaces. Third, it was requested by council that the applicant investigate the opportunity to provide ground floor commercial. As a result, we've added 2 commercial units to the project. And finally, with respect to the adjacent industry, the site would benefit from the introduction of the Class 4 designation to the property. This would allow the proposed building, as well as the existing employment use, to exist without conflict. If this Class 4 designation is not approved, this would result in a significant redesign to the building at the time of site plan control. Next slide, please. So since the community and statutory public meeting, we have updated the proposal as follows. First, we've reduced the number of units from 275 to 273 to accommodate 2 units of commercial, which is approximately 105 square meters of commercial on the ground floor at the Richmond Road location. So this commercial space will allow for tenants such as a coffee shop or a retail store to open up. And this retail will serve the building as well as the existing neighborhood. We also heard that parking was a concern. We took a close look at the parking plans and were able to add 8 additional parking spaces. The proposal has been modified to provide 1 parking space per unit, and the proposal provides 5 parking spaces for the newly introduced commercial spaces, which would comply with commercial requirements in the zoning bylaw. We are reserving 20 parking spaces for visitor parking, and finally 7 parking spaces remain that can be allocated to residents that have more than 1 vehicle. Next slide, please. So here are some renderings that illustrate the updated proposal showing the building from the street frontages along Richmond and Ormond, as well as the proposed commercial development as it may look at the base of the building. Next slide, please. So just to provide a quick policy overview, the subject property is zoned or designated built-up area in the Region of Niagara Official Plan and Urban Living Area Special Policy 5 in the City of Thorold Official Plan. Next slide, please. The property is zoned R4B-6 and permits an apartment use. So the existing official plan designation and zoning are site-specific to the proposal that came in front of council back in 2018. Next slide, please. So this is a site plan showing the proposed development. As I mentioned before, the taller portion of the building, the 9 to 15 stories component, is located towards the north portion of the site. The shorter building, the 1 to 9 stories, will span the frontage of Ormond Street. Surface parking enters along Richmond Road and will be located behind the building. The amenity space is provided in the circle at grade as well as on the rooftop. And the building is designed to address the street frontage and to be located away from the residential units to the west along Cleveland Street. Next slide, please. So tonight we're here asking for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment that is tailored specifically to the development. Any large-scale changes to this development will require us to bring the proposal back before council for an official plan amendment is asking to permit a residential density of 400 dwelling units per hectare. The zoning will permit slightly reduced side and front yard setbacks, a maximum height of 15 stories, a density of 400 units per hectare, a parking rate of 1.08 spaces per residential units with an additional 5 spaces for commercial, slightly reduced parking stall sizes, as well as a variety of commercial units permitted on the ground floor. In addition, we are asking for a Class 4 noise designation to allow for residential infill and redevelopment in proximity to the existing industry, while protecting those residents from undue noise impacts and protecting the industry from putting their environmental compliance at risk. Finally, we will be requesting a reduction in speed limit along the frontage of Richmond Road and Ormond Street from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometers an hour. Next slide, please. So tonight, we're asking council to approve the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 75 Ormond. We believe this project is deserving of council support as it provides 273 units that will contribute to a growing downtown Thorold economy. This project will not require the expansion or the addition of new services and infrastructure and will make use of currently what's in place and is currently underutilized. The site is located on a transit and bicycle route and will clean up an existing contaminated brownfield site. The new residential units will contribute to the future tax base of the city of Thorold. As you're surely aware, Thorold is the fastest growing municipality in the Niagara region and the 4th fastest growing city in Ontario. This development sensitively integrates new housing in a variety of sizes from 1 bedroom to 4 bedroom into an existing community. We estimate this will bring over 500 residents to Thorold and will support the vitality of the growing Thorold economy. Through our application process, we hosted a developer-led open house as well as a statutory public meeting and received no community members objecting to the proposal. Our working relationship with staff, notably Mark Davidson, on this project has been excellent. We have been meeting with Mark weekly to align the project to meet both the comments received from staff as well as council. Staff's report to council outlines their support for the project. The application was deemed complete in January, and our 120-day timeline was up in May. Therefore, we're eligible for a partial fee reduction or fee refund, which would be approximately $10,000. If council approves the development tonight, my client has committed to not requesting the fee refund from the city of Thorold. Prior to tonight's meeting, you received a detailed staff report from City of Thorold planning staff recommending approval of this development. At this time, I'd like to bring your attention to some of the notable comments from staff outlined in the report. Next slide, please. This project is in close proximity to downtown and can help the city meet the intensification projections and take advantage of existing bike lanes and public transit opportunities. The development increases intensification by providing additional residential units to serve a wide range of different incomes and households. This development, the proposal takes advantage of existing services along a transit route in close proximity to downtown. The proposed project would provide residential units which would benefit from a diverse mix of housing to meet both the needs of the current and future residents of the city of Thorold. Next slide, please. Thank you, and we look forward to answering questions that you may have for us tonight.
Thank you so much. And now I'm going to open the floor up for questions for Dana from City Council. Questions? Go ahead, Carmen. Councilor DeRose, sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thanks for your presentation, Dana. Dana, you made a comment just now that 500 residents will be added to Thorold's population. But you're going to have about 300 units, correct?
That's correct. The chair, that's correct.
So I come up with over 1,000 personally, but that's neither here nor there. But let's say it's 1,000, because I can't see 500. That's a real low figure. And that's 4% of Thorold's population. I grew up in that neck of the woods, and I don't think that corner can handle that amount of volume of people. And I just have a problem with the size of this development. Changing 120 units per hectare to 400 units per hectare, I think it's crazy. There's so many things here that don't jive with But I've got more questions later, but I think I have to, once we bring the staff report up.
Yeah, well, when the staff report
But
comes,
I
you can
just-
comment. Right now, it's questions for the
Yeah,
presenter.
like you're asking for 3 times the density of the original development. I have a problem with that.
Thank you. Councillor Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are you the same company that involved in Upper Vista in Niagara Falls?
Through the chair, I am a planning consultant. I'm not familiar with what you're referring to.
With the building that was built in Niagara Falls by the same company, Evertrust?
Possibly, it's possible Evertrust was involved in that.
Okay,
development.
I just read somewhere they're getting sued for $10 million lawsuit with residents over numerous repairs and building-related issues. And then the one in the Welland, that was a little bit of a disaster too. How can you assure us this one is not going to happen to Thorold? These kind of problems aren't going to happen and fall in the city's lap?
Through the chair, I understand that there may be concerns with other development. We've been working closely with staff to ensure that we meet every requirement of the planning application and will continue to work closely. We've completed every study that they've required or asked of us for this application and done all of our engineering studies that are required. Staff has noted to us that it's possible that peer reviews will be required, in which case we would happily oblige. I understand there are concerns related to other developments elsewhere. However, tonight's application is for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for the Thorold development.
Any further questions?
No,
Councillor?
thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, just in timelines, if we approve this, when would construction start and when would you anticipate it being completed?
Through the chair, my client is hoping to get started as soon as possible. We've already made applications to the city for site plan approval, and that application has been deemed complete. There are funding applications related to brownfield CIP funding that are both available at the regional and the city level. All of those programs, I believe, have expiration dates. So we would be looking to move forward as quickly as possible to take advantage of the funding offered within those programs. So as soon as we can get official plan and zoning bylaw amendment approval, we would be proceeding directly to site plan approval with city staff, as well as making an application for the CIP funding at the city level.
Okay, my secondary question through, thank you for the answer, is your client going to take this project from start to finish? Is there any chance of them divesting? Because we see this quite often now where they come in, they do all the site plans, spend a lot of staff time, and then the project sits idle there and nothing happens. So then that vacant lot or that derelict building just sits there, but all these approvals will put pressure on council to get all this done. The public is anticipating something or upset about something, and then nothing happens. Is this something your client's going to follow through with this on a timely basis? And then that's a question for you. And then I have one for staff in terms of when the site plan process.
That you can ask when the report.
Well, I'll ask it now. It could be answered during the report. If it's not, just the timelines of when the shovel will go into the ground and how long it will take, so that the public would understand how this project's moving along. So my question to the presenter is, though, is your client committed to working through this on the timely fashion and not have the project sit idle?
Through the chair, that's my understanding. It's in their interest to move forward. The Smart Growth Grant that the region of Niagara is currently looking at extending has an expiration date. That would benefit the developer in the range of almost $2 million. So I know they're really keen to apply for that grant. And not let the site sit idle. And because it is contaminated, 2 underground storage tanks need to be removed, significant remediation needs to happen. They know that time is of the essence and they need to get started and get moving. On my end, I will be doing whatever we can to expedite applications. We've already made the site plan submission so that that can run as quickly as possible after approval. Staff have already reviewed that for completion and deemed it complete. So we're looking to have that circulated as soon as approval is granted.
Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Proponent. It was noted there that you had done a shade analysis. You acknowledged that one has been done, but actually, as a council, I've never seen one a before or after shade analysis, because I have concerns that you say there to be no significant impacts. I can't agree with that. So would council be able to get a copy of your shade analysis so I could see it? Because it's never been before us, because usually in the past, I can honestly tell you, we've been giving them when we've had concerns where they do it before, and they do a 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., type of deal. Because I believe that the 15-story building will block out most of Cleveland Street or whatever, probably by 7 a.m. in the morning, and probably be that way till noon, and I know that's a concern of residents. So could you supply the city or council? Would I be able to get a copy of the shade analysis report, or do I have to ask that through staff, through you, Mr. Mayor?
I'll let you ask the presenter first.
Yeah.
Through the chair, staff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the complete application was posted online. So I think it would be available online, but I'll defer that question to Morgan or Jason.
Okay, thank you. It's available online. I'll hunt it down.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Longo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. When you last came and presented to council, there was quite a bit of concern from councilors about the height of this building, yet it seems nothing's been done about the height. Can you explain why?
Through the chair, we did look at the possibility of, shifting the mass, but right now, as it stands, any option that we'd be looking at changing the form of the building would lose us units. Right now, with the uniqueness of the site, that it's contaminated and require a lot of remediation, it'll also require the relocation of a large storm and sanitary lateral on the site. The ability to reduce the number of units and still be able to have this project be viable is not possible. Right now as well, a lot of our CIP funding is a question mark. We're unsure if it's going to be available, if the region will extend that grant, or what level of funding would be available. So unfortunately, with reducing the number of units, it just wasn't going to make sense. It wasn't going to pencil from a pro forma perspective. And so they've decided that, there's other improvements we can make to the project. And unfortunately, the height and density were not something that we could be changing at this time. We did look at it extensively, though, in terms of how it relates to the provincial policy, how it relates to the neighboring uses. We did the shade analysis, the compatibility analysis, and ensured there was adequate amounts of soft landscaping on the site, so it did meet the test of whether it was appropriate from a planning perspective.
Thank you. And my final question is just a confirmation. This is a condominium building, not an apartment building, correct?
Through the chair, at this time, the plan is to pursue plan of condominium. Yes, correct.
Okay.
However, the application has not
So
been
being a
made.
plan of condominium, there's no opportunity for affordable housing or housing that would be affordable on a rental basis. This is strictly ownership.
Through the chair, it will be ownership. However, we are considering options for affordability as we move forward. Plan of condominium hasn't been applied for yet and typically wouldn't be until the site plan process stage. We did have discussions with the region of Niagara last week, and they did note they are coming forward with possible affordable housing incentives in early 2026, at which time, we will have a look at those incentives, and if they're, interesting to the developer, they may pursue a rental.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Edwards, I'm a little confused too, because you began your presentation stating that you're looking at a target price of $400 to $600, and now I'm hearing that it's a condo, not a rental. How do you work that into this pricing?
400,000 to 600,000.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
sorry for the
Okay,
confusion.
my mistake then, sorry. And my second question is, Justin, can you bring up the site plan slide? It's, shows the footprint and the plan view of the building. So I'm wondering if you can, that one would work, the one that you just had. Yep, thank you. I'm wondering if you can tell me, where are the reserved 5 parking places for the commercial enterprise?
Through the chair, we haven't designated those yet in terms of which ones they will be, but at this time, our team feels that they would be the closest 5 commercial spaces that are to the residential units, which would be in the southwest portion of the building at Richmond Street. So likely those 3 and possibly another 2 towards the entrance.
Okay. But the actual commercial location is going to be more in that pointed lower southern section. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So anyone accessing the commercial area is going to need to drive in to the shared or common parking entryway into the building.
That's correct, but that's surface parking, so that would just, they would drive into that entranceway and those commercial spaces would be signed as designated for the commercial.
Mm-hmm.
However, we anticipate the commercial users will also be building occupants as well as people arriving via transit. And
Okay. And you spoke about having some extra parking spaces that could be utilized for residents that may have 1 or more cars. How do you conceive that happening? I think you spoke of 10, and we're probably talking a lot more cars.
yeah, through the chair, 20 visitor parking spaces will be provided. The bylaw doesn't require visitor parking spaces. That's just what we feel is necessary and good practice. And then there would be approximately 7 that could be either sold or allocated to potential purchasers that want to purchase an extra parking space if they have 2 cars.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Dana, for your presentation. In accordance with the city's procedural bylaw, report DS 37-2024 will follow after the delegation, which is now. So DS 37-2024, 75 Ormond Street South, recommendation report. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? Councillor DeRose, and I need a seconder, Councillor Sentence. The report will go on the floor here, and then staff's here to answer any questions. The floor is now open for questions to staff. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Just through you, Mr. I'm just scrolling down to page 9. Something caught my eye that I wanted to ask staff. So obviously staff's approving this. I have some major issues. First of all, with the ask of going from 120 unit per hectare to 400 units. But on the bottom of page 9, if I know staff doesn't have it in front, if you can pull that up, so can you pull that up? Can that be pulled up, page 9, the bottom?
Agenda up. Second.
Or I could just read it. It's just a short blurb, but it's the last paragraph on page 9. And it says an official plan, so I just want to ask how staff sees this, because it says an official plan amendment is required to permit the increased density within the urban living area designation. Intensification in any form, whether an apartment building, townhouse development, or subdivision comprised of a single detached dwellings, is permitted in the urban living area if the proposals are respectful of, and this is where it kind of bothers me a bit, are respectful of, compatible with, and are designated to be contextually integrated within a community. This thing's going to stick out like a sore thumb. I've said this before. It's going to have over 1,000 people there. And I don't know how many blocks of residents that would be in Thorold, but I just think this is over and above anything that's necessary in that area. I know we need intensification, I know we need housing, but at what cost? The infrastructure concerns me too. I know I did read the engineering report, but I am concerned about the infrastructure, whether it can hold that many people. The cars is another thing. How many families only have one car now? I don't know of any. So I don't know if you're just gonna sweep everything under the rug and go full throttle with this, but there's too many things that really concern me. Those are just a few of them. And yeah, so I have a hard time supporting this report, unfortunately, because I know staff's worked hard on it and staff does a great job, but I have a hard time with this report. And
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Didovines.
Thank you, sir. Also, I don't want to rush this project. I know staff looked at it and gave their opinion, but I want to make sure 100% they did their due diligence on this one. Because I don't want problems down the road in the track record, and the city of Niagara Falls is getting sued. I don't want that to happen to the city of Thorold. So I want to make sure we have this, everything's dotted, everything's perfect on this one.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Yeah, myself, everybody wants to increase housing, whatever. I think the intensification myself too is far extreme. I look at all the comments come from the public meeting of the night here. I don't really see any comments from any of the residents. I know residents have concerns. I have concerns with the shadowing effect. I have concerns with the density. They really didn't change anything of the request. All they did was they added 102 square meters, I believe, of commercial space and 5 parking spaces and added a couple more parking spots, but they really didn't address any of the concerns with the height and concerns that were really put out there by the public. And it's just come back as the original proposal was made, and I too have concerns with it. And I can't support it, and I hate to say if I can't support it and council turns it down, it's going to go to Toronto. Who knows how I'll end up, but I just can't. Nothing's changed. All I can say is intensification, shadowing effect. I even have concerns with the language in regards to the business that is already there. In regards to environmental, they brought that up tonight, in regards to issues. So it almost sounds like residents are gonna come in there, they're gonna start complaining about the plastics business that's been there for decades, a former dump tar plant, and then we're gonna have an issue where now council's gonna have to decide whether we're gonna close down a industrial or a business, as we had to make a decision one time in Allenburg with Doherty Meats, and I just don't like it all the ways around, to tell you the truth. It's too much for the amount of land that's there.
Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Well, through you, or just a comment. I agree with everything that's been said.
Dan, you can sit down now, because now
It's too big for the area, in my opinion. It's going to cause us problems down the road.
Daniel.
But we have, and this is no offense to staff, you're just following the rules and doing what you're supposed to do, and I understand that. Ontario planning, regional planning, our planning, all says it's good planning, and you're just following the rules. The problem is, if we turn this down, then we know what's gonna happen. There's no question as to what's gonna happen. We know what's gonna happen. So I just keep, like Councillor Dudovaitis said, I know you guys are gonna keep an eye on this and just try and make it as good as possible, and because we all know what happens if we turn it down. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last number of years, I think we've learned a lot about what the province wants from us in terms of intensification. We've learned as we've gone along, we've taken our lumps, and we've generally started to approve most of these. But this one, in my opinion, is obscene. It's way too dense. From a requirement of 120 units a hectare to 400 units a hectare, that's just over 3.5 times what is now allowed. There's not enough parking. I don't care what anybody says. There's not enough parking for this many units. So unfortunately, I can't support this. I wish I could if they would have come back with some changes to the height, to the number of units, to make it a little more compatible and integrated with the community, as Councillor DeRose pointed out. This isn't compatible. This is going to stick like a sore thumb. So unfortunately, I'm going to, I respect what staff's doing. They're doing what the province is telling us to do. This is just too big and too dense for my liking.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similar comments regarding the size, because really think about it. There's 305 total parking spaces. Parking's always going to be an issue. This isn't Toronto. It's not Oakville. It's not Brampton. We don't have public transit that operates effectively through the region. Yeah, a bus goes by there, but where it goes takes a while to get there. It's not quick and it's not easy. Downtown has businesses, but it can only sustain so many businesses because it's not a huge downtown. It's been converted a lot to residential, so we keep packing more residential. So imagine 300 cars in one day. That's just one trip per car, and that's not a lot coming out of that parking lot on Richmond Street, going one way or the other. That's 300 cars. If anyone's gone to the corner of Richmond and Collier in the morning, I can't even get out of my street on Sentence to make a right-hand turn to get into the intersection because the cars are backed up almost over the highway, right? So that's we're getting too much car traffic, and unfortunately our transit cannot sustain and do a great job of moving people around effectively just because of the design of it, because our communities are spread out. So everyone that's living there is going to need a vehicle. So you're going to have 300 cars there. So that's one of the biggest concerns I have, putting another 300 to 500 if they have visitors, trips in a day on that street, on Richmond Street, going either one, Richmond Street or Ormond Street, going one way or the other way. It's going to be pretty congested. I think a smaller scale building would have been more suitable there. You look at some of the other high rises that we have within our community, they're a little bit spread out. You know, the seniors building across from Club Capri, there's a lot of land there, there's a lot of parking there. This one's going to be all congested into a bend of an area, which it's going to be very difficult. So without going on and on and on, I think the density, unfortunately the province has targets, but someone sits up in an office in Toronto, makes decisions, but they don't really go and walk the streets and look at how it impacts smaller communities that are trying to, you know, come up with the right residential mix to make everyone happy. And Councillor Hanley's right. It's only a matter of time before the mixed use of industrial and residential conflict. And that's how, you know, that's how you got rid of the Exelon. That's how you get rid of some of the paper mills. And those are good paying jobs that we've lost out on. So we don't need much more of that pushing our industry out. We need a good sustainable mix that benefits everyone. So a smaller downscaled unit size would probably fit the bill there, but this is just too big. And again, it's exceeding the provincial policy in terms of the percentage per hectare. So I don't think at this point in time I could support it, and I wish they would have came back with a little bit of a smaller version.
Mr. Mayor, can we defer this report? Yeah.
Then, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would like to defer it and send it back to staff. Absolutely. Yeah, yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. We're hearing the same comments from everyone. I think we heard it the first time around, so.
put a resolution forward, so that one, I'm just not gonna ask questions, but I'm actually gonna put a resolution forward. And I have questions on the letter.
Resolutions is a package. There's a letter and a resolution. So that's why the resolution, I mean, you want to have a look at and see if you agree.
Yes, yeah, I have it right, I have it right in front of me. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll be putting the resolution on the floor, so we're voting on the resolution. So it's, I'm not just speaking or asking questions on it, so I'd like to.
Resolution on the floor, we gotta move in the do you want to speak on it, or just want to make sure that that resolution?
Well, the resolution's not, like, are we adopting the resolution that's in there, or are we just receiving it for information?
No, we gotta move in the seconder, so we're adopting that resolution.
So the
Correct?
So that's correct. The resolution is that.
Yeah.
So there's already been a mover and a seconder for that.
Okay, so, just so I'm clear, we're supporting the resolution that was presented by CN?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's fine. So then, if I could just speak to it then?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, all I wanted to, well, I was gonna support the resolution, but we're supporting it, which is great. I think it's, for those that are watching, it's a resolution in support of Rail Safety Week, and we have a lot of rail that traverses our community, and they talk about safety, and I think it's very, very important since we have a lot of unmanned crossings, and it's very, very important that, you know, we follow rail safety for everyone's benefit. But what I was gonna ask is, there's actually a test your knowledge and take the pledge. It's linked to the paperwork that was sent by CN. I was hoping that we could put that on our website or on our social media, so we could get that out so people can, I took the test. It's only 3 questions, but they're good questions, and I took the pledge to promote rail safety, and I think that's incumbent on us, especially with all the rail lines that we have. Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring forward with that comment. Okay, that was it for that one. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have, just get you the right number here. It is 11-4, the Canada Games Park financial statements. Again, I'm just gonna throw a few questions out there. If there's answers, great. If there's no answers, I know these are not our statements. They're actually the Canada Summer Games Park statements. But when I went through and I saw that some of the comments I have were, again, I don't need an answer right now, but these are the type of questions I'd like to see an answer, because as part of in the notes on page 10, the related party transactions, it talks about property insurance. The region pays for the property insurance. I find that a little odd that they only pay for the insurance, but they make no other commitments to rentals or to the operating deficit, but they do pay the insurance, so I'm sort of curious on why that happens. Okay, so they're insuring just the capital component, and it's not insured through the operating part? Again, I don't need an answer now. If I'll just throw these questions out, staff can put it together. Also, I found it curious on item number 4, the notes number 4. It talks about a portion of relevant expenditures incurred by the Meridian Center allocated to the Canada Games Park. This talks about the model of management and administrative support. My question is, how much do we pay the Meridian Center, which is owned by the City of St. Catharines? It shows here $190,000. I don't know if that's the true amount of what's owed. That's an account payable, but I don't know how much we pay for our portion of running their facility. I'd like to know what that is. And the other question I had is item number 6, or note number 6, capital reserve held by the regional municipality of Niagara. When I look at the capital reserves, this is the money that we contribute. We contributed $414,000 last year in 2023, $369,000 the year before. I don't see any interest that's accumulating in there. So my question is, who's getting the interest? Because there's over $3 million in this fund already, and there's no interest accumulating, and we're getting no credit for that. I do not see that on the notes. To me, that I think is vital. Hopefully the region's not just keeping the interest themselves. I think it should be going back as part of the reduction of the capital contribution. That's only fair. If that's something we need to discuss later, we should. Again, because it's going to start adding up. We've contributed $783,000, $750,000, and we're getting zero interest on that. That's not good return on our money. There's other ones, but those are the big ones that I saw. The other one was the secondary report that we had that I think our Director of Finance probably included. The one question I have on that is, moving forward, it says budget to actual for 2023. This shows what we budgeted for unsold ice. It was $67,000. But actually, the actual value in 2023 was $104,922. So the budget variance was over $38,000. What I'd like to see moving forward, if this can be amended going forward, is it only shows me the 23 numbers. I'd like to see last year's, the 2022 numbers, similar when we look at 24. I'd like to see what the 23 numbers are. For me, it's critical because we could see if we're doing a better or worse job compared to the prior year. Because the unsold ice is something I've been harping on for quite a while, because it's money being thrown away, and we need to start utilizing that either for community groups or organizations, or selling it off or doing something, because $106,000 or $104,922 is money thrown out the window, when other sports organizations in our community can actually use it or benefit when we're spending that kind of money. So that's why I want to see comparisons, and I want to see some sort of, and whoever our representative, I think it's our CAO, I think that's a question I'd like to see, is what is their plan going in the future of trying to reduce this unsold ice time? Again, the building's there, it's not going to change, but we got to start utilizing it more, or at least reducing what we're spending for it sitting idle. Again, these are some of the points I bring up consistently, only because we need to get value for our money, and right now I don't see that. Thank you.
That's okay, Mr. Mayor. I was going to bring up another one, so I'm good here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add on to Councilor D'Angelo there. So I'm assuming we'll get some sort of staff report or response to his questions?
Director of Finance will provide a response to, a
Okay,
memo
great. So-
and send it to council.
If I could add one question to that list. I'd just like to know how the commercial tenancy is going, okay? I know there were a number of vacant spots there, so if we can get an update on where that stands at this point. Thank you.
Anyone else for any other issues? Go ahead,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 11.8, the McMillan Field fencing. I just want to let staff know and everybody know that what a wonderful job of pivoting for something to put that fencing around, and Councilor O'Hara he actually built the gates. So great job on that, Dave. Great work, and much appreciated. A really nice pivot on something instead of a permanent fence. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I want to go back to 11.4 that Councilor D'Angelo spoke on. I'm going to assume that the other consortium partners are paying an unused ice time fee. Is that correct? Okay, so where does that money go? Like, where does our $104,922 go?
My guess would be it goes into the operating budget, like Jeff, and that's all goes into the pot of running the building.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
And then at the end, it's shows in the other end, where it showed that we come in how much under budget? $16,800 less than what we budgeted last year.
Yeah, I just, this bothers me to no avail, and I hear it from people I run into that keep up with City Hall. I just don't understand why Thorold taxpayers are paying for a service that we don't receive. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. I still have a problem is, how would all three consortium partners sign a deal where it says you're gonna pay for something you're not using? I don't get it. If anybody can clarify, you know, especially the ones that were at the table negotiating, because it just doesn't make sense to me at all, and it really bugs me, but thank you. Can anybody clarify what I asked, Mr. Mayor? No, I'm saying about the original agreement. How did you guys agree to that? That's what I.
Because all the partners assume so much ice time. You know, just so you know, in the existing arena, when the lights are out and nobody's using the ice, finance still counts that as a loss, and it shows up as a loss. The difference here is we're paying hard dollars, all three partners, and it goes back into the operating company. No magic to this. Okay, go ahead, Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to comment on item, let's see, 11.6, the tender award to Darlene Ryan. And I just want to congratulate staff on bringing this in under budget. I know that's always a tough thing to work out the numbers and make something work. But these parking spots are greatly needed. We were just out to the commemorative event at Darlene Ryan for the bridge collapse. The parking lot was bursting. The community center was packed full, and that's not the first time. I've seen it many, many times. So this is a much needed addition, and well done on making it work. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on that. Yeah, I'm glad, and it seems like the Darlene Ryan board that runs, makes decisions on behalf of the board there, is agreeable to the parking lot. I couldn't tell from the picture, because I couldn't place the center when I looked at it. Is this additional parking to what's there now, or is it just cleaning up a parking that's there? Because it talked about moving it eastward.
Dave, can you answer that? I'll get Dave Baldoni then.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's additional 15 parking spaces for the.
Okay, so they would be, if you're looking at the center, there's a parking lot, it's on the opposite side of the sidewalk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, correct.
Okay, perfect, okay. It was hard to tell from the diagram, but no, I appreciate staff moving forward with this. It's hard to find parking there when there's events going on.
Absolutely.
There's more and more events. Thank you. I do have another item if no one else has.
Has anyone got any other questions? Then we'll go to your item.
Mine's just 11.7. It's parking restrictions in Rolling Meadows subdivision. I know it talks about restricting parking on one side. The only thing I would ask is when we're looking at that, putting up these signs, if we could put them on the light standards as opposed to setting up new posts, similar to what we did on Lawrence. Instead of putting a new post in someone's front lawn, we actually attached it to the lights. So I know it talks about putting it on one side, but if there's any way of looking at that so we don't have additional posts that either are going to get damaged, hit by a snowplow or whatever, if they can be, the no parking signs can be put on the light standards, it sort of makes sense after discussing that with a few people. But I'm supportive of the idea of restricting parking, especially if we do it before the road is actually opened up to the public. It makes a lot more sense because then they're accustomed to not parking there. So if that's, I don't need an answer from staff. I just, if they could consider that when they're doing that. If they are, that's great. If not, to give that some consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Sean, you want to comment on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, that's standard practice for us. We try to put it on the light posts where possible. It saves us the hassle.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got 1 through 8. I got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Items for consideration. DS 33, 2024, 46 and 48 St. David Street West zoning bylaw amendment. D1402-2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? Counselor Hanley and Counselor Decker. And the report will go on the floor, and we have staff here to answer any questions. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. PWCS 82-2024, Thorold Community Credit Union Community Design donation. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? I've got Counselor Didavitas and Counselor Decker, and Jeff has got an update on that report that he's going to share with us now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received new information this week that the Thorold Credit Union is generously going to donate the full amount of the costs of the low bid. So you may wish to reconsider the recommendation that's in the staff report, accepting the bid from Signature Signs as the low bidder, and in the full amount of $68,625.75.
So I'll ask the clerk how we're proceeding here.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so I've amended the motion to reflect that. You can do a separate mover and seconder, or it can be done as a friendly amendment if that
I
looks
had
good.
a mover and a seconder. Counselor Hanley, Counselor Decker, are you good with the way the new motion reads?
So just including adjustee.
Okay. And, okay, so that's it. We got a mover and seconder, and you want to speak on that, Counselor DeAngelo? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad that suggestion came forward. That's something I was thinking of, because, you know, there's a price to put it up, and there's no use chincing on it and not getting the product that we need. So if this is what we want, I'm glad the donor stepped up. My only question is, when we get into these agreements with donors that donate items in our community, do we put timelines on it, or is it in perpetuity? Like what happens 10 years down the road when this has to be replaced, or what happens at that point in time? Is there a period of time on these like it's basically a contract to donate for the building of this, but what rights do you get for that? Just some clarity on that.
I don't have that answer, staff. Can you, is it the length of the, how long the sign lives?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. No, we don't have a provision in our proposal, or their proposal, for replacement in the fullness of time, whenever it reaches its estimated service life. However, you know, Thorold Credit Union's been around for a long time, and, you know, should the need come up at the end of its service life, perhaps we could go back to them. But there's no obligation beyond just the original commitment.
Okay, maybe that's something in the future. Again, you don't want to kick a gift horse in the mouth here, but I think when we look at donations for any type of scoreboard, anything along that's refurbishing, it should look at some timelines so that once it's useful life, and that's a good way of tying it into it, is the useful life of it, is then when it comes to that point in time, you know, they could extend the contract and refurbish it or put a new one up. This is the example I'm using, but I think that's something we need to look at so that it's just not in perpetuity and then it just stuck there. And then what happens if 3 years from now it breaks down and, you know, for whatever reason we have to replace it, then there's a cost associated to the city. So I think that's something that should be looked at for future agreements.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
And then I'll just, I was on the amendment, so this is as amended.
What's that?
This is now as amended.
Oh, because you added that HSD, okay. So that was the original vote, and now as amended, because he made the change. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, now we're moving on to PWCS 84-2024, South Main Street Bridge Project Update. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this, please? I got Counselor Sentence and Counselor DeRose. Jeff Holman's here to answer any questions, so the report's on the floor, and now the floor is open for questions of staff. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Counselor D'Angelo.
Just clarity on point 2, where it talks about allowing, there's some funding going to allow 3 different sets of First Nations groups to attend and monitor the archaeological fieldworks. Are we looking at local First Nations groups to do that, or is this, I just want to make sure that those that are, you know, the First Nation groups that are local here in Niagara have the opportunity to work on this project because it's something local as opposed to getting someone outside the Niagara region, if that's possible. I'm not sure if that's been researched.
Sean?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's exactly who we have. It's only the people who would be affected by the works.
Excellent, that's good to hear.
Anyone else? Seeing none, oh, did you want to comment? Go ahead, Counselor.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff, what's that 20,000 for?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to pay them to be out there.
Okay, can anybody share what they found that was, that brought all this about?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it was a human artifact.
Okay. Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 12.5, PWCS 88-2024, St. David's Street and Norman Street North, traffic calming. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? Councillor Hanley and Councillor O'Hare. Sean Dunsmore and Jeff Holman are here to answer any questions on the report. Seeing none, oh, go ahead, Councillor O'Hare, and then Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. Should we approve this this evening? How soon before we can put these in place?
Through Mr. Mayor, that's a tough one to answer.
Are we going to get it within this new school year? Because we have a school right on the corner there. It'd be a great
There's
addition.
quite a bit of line painting associated with it. We'll try to get it done before it gets too cold.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor D'Angelo, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we're also making the sidewalk adjustment to have a sender and a receiver on the east side of Ormond Street.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's exactly.
Okay, yeah, the diagram doesn't show that, but I just want to make sure, because that was our discussion at the committee. I just want to make sure that transpired also. Can I ask sort of an ancillary question regarding the street just around the corner? I know there's speed bumps that were supposed to go on Front Street. Any indication of timeline of when they're going to be
Update,
installed?
Sean.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're working with asphalt contractor right now to, it's actually going to be a subject of a report for next week, or our next council meeting, to get them installed.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 89-2024, Road Safety Committee Budget Adjustment. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Decker and Councillor DeRose. Okay, and we'll get that up. And again, Sean Dunsmore and Jeff Holman are here to answer any questions. Are there any questions regarding that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Emergency overrun repairs at 2 Carlton Street. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that report? I got Councillor Longo and Councillor Sentence. That's PWCS 94-2024. And Jeff Holman's here to answer any questions. Are there any questions? See, oh, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Just a quick one. Where are the raccoons moving to? No.
Who knows? Anyway, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 95, 2024, license of land for public recreational purposes, Hydro One corridor and Rolling Meadows secondary plan. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this report? Counselor Dedivitis, and can I get a seconder? Counselor Sentence. That's PWCS 95, 2024. Jeff's here to answer any questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, I've got the notices of motion. I've got, first of all, I've got the waiving of parking fees, lots 1 and 2. It's time sensitive because it's this Saturday.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So under the city's procedural bylaw, in order to consider the notice of motion, that's in order to consider it today rather than at a future council meeting, we'll need to waive the notice requirement under the procedural bylaw, and that requires a 2/3 vote of council members present.
Can I get a mover and seconder? I got Counselor Sentence and Counselor Hanley to waive the procedural bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And now, have you got it up? It's that council directs staff to waive parking fees at the City of Thorold parking lots 1 and 2 for Saturday, September 14th. That's movers, Counselor Dedivitis. Can I get a seconder? Counselor O'Hare. And this is because it's time sentences, because this is the final market day, this Saturday the 14th, with the Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars cover bands. So is there any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I've got Councillor O'Hare for designation 18 River Street. Are you bringing a notice?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, a notice of motion that'll be coming to council at the next meeting for the designation, as you said, of 18 River Street. Thank you.
And there's a designation happening on the 21st.
That's correct, yes.
Thorold on Welland Street North. So,
that's correct.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
I want to put a notice of motion forward, Mr. Mayor, in regards to homeowners providing liability insurance for encroachment on city property. It's in relations to what I'm going to talk about next.
I know. So I'm just making sure that clerk's got it, okay? Have you got that? He's gonna bring it, so you'll know, we'll all see it prior to. Okay. I've got, now I got motions from the last meeting, and one was pest control subsidy. I'll call on Councillor Sentence for his motion, and do you have a seconder, Councillor Sentence? Councillor O'Hare, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I can speak on this a little bit after.
Yes, you do.
Whereas the City of Thorold does not have an overall program related to pest management and specifically rat control, whereas several lower-tier municipalities within the region of Niagara, including the City of Niagara Falls, City of Welland, City of St. Catharines, Town of Lincoln, and residential subsidy programs have residential subsidies programs in place, and the City of Windsor has maintained a subsidy program for over 20 years. Whereas licensed pest control vendors can help minimize risk considerations faced by city residents, as well as the local wildlife population. And whereas the cost of retaining a licensed pest control vendor can be prohibitive, now therefore be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Thorold enacts as follows. 1, that staff be directed to prepare a report outlining the options of maintaining a pest subsidy program for the City of Thorold. And 2, that the report shall provide information respecting the financial considerations of maintaining such a program as part of the 2025 budget. So I got rats on my mind, sorry.
And that's referred to budget?
The budget, please, yes.
Okay, and you had a seconder. Is there any discussion on
Well, I
that?
just, if I
Oh,
could-
you want to speak?
Yeah,
Sorry.
just so the reason I put this in, I know other cities have it, some put like 25,000 in, some put 50,000 in, and they have a program where they pay for half of your service. I called one of the big companies, and they charge about $400 for a yard, and that includes the inside of your house for pest control. So that would be something that if we decide to put something in, we'd pay for half. From what I see from other cities, I'll wait for the report, and then that helps out. And I know this isn't an immediate effect, and it may not seem like much, but maybe over time, this has an effect, and it shows people that at least we're trying. So that's my reasoning.
Anyone else want to speak to that? Go ahead, Councillor Dienge.
Thank you. No, I appreciate this coming forward because I've had a few people concerns. And I know it's rat, but there's other, we have a skunk problem in Thorold too that's causing a bit of havoc. So hopefully that's considered, other pests are in there beyond the rats. But Mr. Mayor, maybe you could answer this question because it was brought to my attention, but I didn't get a chance to research because I just was mentioned to me this afternoon. Is the region looking at garbage pickup to a weekly amount? Are they looking at, I thought there was supposed to be a public meeting or
They're doing, they're
survey?
doing a strategic plan, and input can be, but I can tell you that, I'm not saying what the strategic plan's gonna say, but I can tell you that's not on the radar to go back to weekly garbage collection.
Okay, because that would help immensely with the rat problem and other
Well, I
roads.
think a lot of it's education on how you control your garbage and putting it in closed-top containers or keeping it. If you throw a bag in the side of the house, yeah, it's a big issue.
Yeah, well, it's causing an issue because we're spending money on it, so
Yeah.
it's a region issue. But if there's a way that individuals can comment on that, on that process, I think we should put that on our website so that.
It is already, and
so
we've
perfect.
advertised the strategic plan input, yes.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Thorold.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to staff, is there any way, and I've brought this up, we've discussed this at least 3 times since I've been on council. Is there any way, a lot of the rodents we are getting, I understand people aren't doing their due diligence, leaving garbage, not putting out garbage on the right day, but is there any way, a lot of this stems from builders not following up with their, I know they have I don't know if it's a written agreement with the city, but to deal with displaced rodents, to place them somewhere, to deal with them. So is there any way to get, this is gonna be costly, but I agree with Councillor Senton, something's gotta be done. It's out of control. Is there anything that we can extract from the builders? Because that's, I think, the main problem of our source of rodents. So just the staff, have we ever, is there anything we can do as far as an added cost? I don't know. I know we don't want to add cost to building, but it shouldn't be on the residents or the taxpayers' back, but it's going to end up there, but, you know.
Councillor, Jason's got, I know we have a policy for when we tear down stuff, but I don't know about new builds, so Jason can speak on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Unfortunately, I do recall this coming up in the past. Unfortunately, I don't recall the details off the top of my head, but I was just going to mention that we can ensure that it's added into the report when it comes to council.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say I'm really glad to see this coming forward. Not only is it with builders, but in our area, we have some vacant properties and we have a lot of rat issues just in those local areas there. So I know our residents will be happy to see something come forward with, and the issue is rats. There's a lot of rats in the neighboring areas there. So I'm really glad to see this finally come forward. So hopefully something will get done with that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Hand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I'd like to see is the region do what we pay them to do. Several complaints are continuously brought forward with a resident on Cleveland Street. This has been going on now, I got pictures here, for over 2 years. The resident phones the city says that's the region's issue. The people phone the region does nothing about it. I got pictures just from this last week, last Saturday. The guy sends me pictures one day of the garbage sitting there, and the next day with the rats in the garbage right on Cleveland Street. I tell him what to do. He calls me back and says, Jimmy, I've been doing what you tell me to do. The region doesn't respond. The region's not doing their job. Because every time a resident complains about garbage, we tell them to call the region. So either we're passing the buck or the region's passing the buck. Now, we pay a sanitary fee and we pay good taxes here, and we pay 40% of our tax dollars goes to the region. They need to do their job in regards to the disposal of garbage and waste being left behind. This resident is called, these people do it continuously. The garbage day is on Friday. Saturday, they got garbage bags out already. There's 20 people living in the building. They don't store the garbage at the side. They throw it in front of the building. Been going on for 2 years. The region does nothing about it. Nothing. No penalties, nothing. Go there, notify the people, that's it. And this has been continuously been going on in our city for years. So
Well,
we need to do something to get the region to step up to the
I can tell you
plate.
that the region's gone around, because I've called them, and if you call the hotline, they've gone around and they have bylaw that goes around, and they have had stuff picked up, removed, and if it hasn't been, there's due notice and they ticket people. So I don't know why that one hasn't happened, but there's a hotline number on the region website, and if they're not getting any luck, Councillor Hanley, I'll give you a contact to get a hold of.
Yeah, if you would please, because the resident actually just sent me this again the other day, because I had actually
But
told.
I have had success by getting that, and I'm not saying the system's perfect, because if it's at the curb, it's the region. If it's along the side of the house or in the yard, it's the city of Thorold.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say I fully support this. This is probably one of the, it is the number one issue that I've received the most calls for. And it turns out it's not the homeowners that are the problem. It's the other residents that, as we've discussed, have not been dealing with their garbage properly. So if this can help alleviate some of the difficulties that they've been having with invasive pests, then wonderful. Let's try it out and see if we can combat it from another direction. Of course, education, as you said, Mr. Mayor, is always important. And I'm just wondering if perhaps we could post that phone number, that emergency phone number that you spoke about, on our own website.
Yes,
Is that
I can.
something we can do?
You got that, so you can
Great.
get Natalie to post that, the hotline at the region.
Good, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, and just, this is in terms of funding the program. I've spoken several times regarding a graduated licensing program, and those properties that are consistently having troubles, because Mr. Mayor, I call properties, people call me and say, hey, this garbage has been out here for a whole week, so I've called the region several times. So if those properties are causing problems, it should be part, and I know their rental units specifically, and if they're causing problems, this is where a graduated licensing system might fund this program, so there'd be no cost associated with that coming from the taxpayer, but those that are not taking care of their property on a timely basis or want to ignore what the region tells them when it comes to garbage. So.
And that other thing, there is, just so you know that the region does respond. There was numbers provided by the Director of Waste Management about the number of calls, the action taken. If we could distribute that to council, please. I sent it to you, but if you could distribute to council, I think it'd be a good thing for them to see as well. Okay?
My point, Mr. Mayor, is if staff can look at budgeting this program next year through rental housing licensing money, due to the fact that it's graduated, where there's owners that are paying more because they don't want to take care of the tenants that are in those buildings, because those are the ones causing problems in our community.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, up next we have Always Stop at Davis Street and Niagara Falls Road. I'll call on Councillor Hanley for his motion, and do you have a seconder, Councillor Hanley? Councillor DeRose. Go ahead, Councillor.
Whereas public safety is necessary to protect the well-being of our residents, and whereas residents of Davis Street and Thorold South request traffic calming measures, and whereas the residents further request a three-way stop sign be installed at the corner of Davis Street and Niagara Falls Road, therefore be it resolved that the corporation, the city of Thorold, install an all-way stop on the corner of Davis Street and Niagara Falls Road for the betterment and safety of our residents. I believe there was a report to come forward actually, because I'd seen it from Justin, but it didn't come forward tonight. So it was in regards to, I believe, staff making a recommendation that a stop sign be erected there, even though it wasn't warranted in a traffic study. I believe it is warranted from Niagara Falls Road all the ways to Morton Street. There's no stop signs. It's on a semi-blind corner, and we're looking out for the residents. They submitted a petition, not once, but twice since 2023, I believe. So I think it's in the better interest of ourselves and the residents that we acknowledge the request and install a three-way stop sign in the corner of Davis Street and Niagara Falls Road in Thorold South.
Go ahead, Councilor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the safety on the road. I think we've done already some traffic calming measures on the road. And I think we had a PIC at the fire hall the other day. There wasn't many people there, but I didn't hear this one. And this isn't sarcasm, but if you go to Davis Street and you go to Morton, it's like 50 meters between two three-way stops. Now, McCann's further up if you went to a stop that way. So my two questions are for Councillor Handley. Have the residents actually asked for one there or one on the street, and has this been looked at by the Road Safety Committee?
Well, it has. I did have the petition here at the last meeting. If you remember, I left it right here. It was signed by 80% or 85% of the residents. And it didn't go to the Road Safety Committee because I'm the elected representative for the taxpayer, not the Road Safety Committee, not taking anything against council. And it wasn't, they didn't want to bring it there until November 6th. I'm looking at it, I followed the procedures of council, I put the motion forward, the residents give me a petition, and I felt that it wasn't necessary that we had to go to the Road Safety Committee to get their input, seeing again that I'm the elected representative, the taxpayers has asked me to bring this forward. So that's why I brought it forward at this time.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, I just meant input from the Road Safety Committee because I didn't know, and I didn't see this petition, so it's just really close to Morton Street. Like it's 50 meters down the road that you're going to be stopping at another always stop. So I didn't know if they meant on the street or Davis Street because that's really close.
Three-way stop, two stop signs, Niagara Falls Road 1 and thing. Thorold's probably got more four-way stops, intersections than any municipality I've ever been in Ontario. We got them 25 meters apart from each other. Drive down Albert Street, McCann Street, Rose Avenue, every street. So I don't think the distance between stop signs and not taking anything with you is of a necessary means. It's up to, I just put the motion forward at the request of residents. It's up to council. It's a democratic process. If you don't want it, we don't do it.
Anyone else want to speak? The staff want to comment on this. Sean?
30 signatures.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as was discussed by Councillor Hanley, we did do traffic calming. We did have a public meeting out there, and we're just finalizing the report to get it to the October 1st meeting.
To when?
October 1st.
And will it include this?
I don't believe it does. I believe it includes speed humps on Niagara Falls Road instead.
Go ahead, Councillor Dedeby.
Through you, sir. If the 80% of the residents want this, why not just give it to them?
I brought the petition at the last meeting with all residents of Davis Road signing it.
Anyone else want to speak? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too agree that Niagara Falls Road can be a bit of a raceway. And if we can slow down the traffic, and typically a stop sign without a lot of expense can do that job, whether it's at Davis or whether it's at the preceding street, doesn't matter to me. If that's the one that the residents want, I believe that it could address some of the issues that the residents feel they're facing on a daily basis. So I would support a three-way stop.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Just a question to you, Mr. Mayor, to our staff, because the report's coming forward regarding traffic calming measures for Niagara Falls Road. Putting this stop sign, will it impact where the speed humps are proposed in the next report that's coming forward?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, depending on what council does tonight, we can certainly make that adjustment.
Okay, that's my concern, though, that we're not going down one road and then this is thrown in, no pun intended, and then it sort of alters that plan. So long as staff takes that into consideration for the next report, I'll support this.
Okay. Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Statement by Councillor Hanley. And I'm only letting you have a statement because it's your birthday, just so you know that.
I appreciate that. The other one we're gonna deal in the back room, right? Because we don't want the public to know. So, anyways, Mr. Mayor, what I want to talk about is come to my attention that residents on Tulip Tree Road have been asked in 2023 to sign an encroachment agreement with the city. And the city now is requiring not only that the homeowners provide proof of $2 million liability insurance and make the city a party in part to the liability. Mr. Mayor, I believe this is the result of an error by the city, and I've never known it where it would be a requirement by the city to give approval for a permit on the condition that you sign an encroachment agreement when in fact it's the city who erred. So that's why I put my notice of motion forward. I believe that the city should be insuring the property, not the homeowner, and the city should make the homeowner part and parcel to the liability because it's the city's error that's brought this to be, not the resident's error. So why should the resident be responsible financially for anything? And it's in regards to a barrier wall that was built in the wrong spot. And it's also puts a burden onto the residents now because of that. Now they have to get an agreement from the MTO in regards to a permit because they're encroaching on MTO property. So this is all the result of an error by the city, and that's why I put a notice of motion forward for the next meeting to absolve the residents of any responsibility whatsoever or any cost in regards to any encroachment agreement or liability whatsoever.
Okay, so that's a notice of motion for next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. That's the end of our agenda, and not the whole agenda, up to closed session. So before I ask, well, I don't have to read that because there's no one online. All councillors are in the chamber. So can I get a mover and a seconder to go into closed session, and then we'll read why we're going into Councillor DeRose and Councillor Hanley, and now we'll put up the.
Want to read it?
Yeah, I'll let the clerk read it because it's a long one. He's ready to roll.
That council do now move into closed session to receive confidential information respecting: 1, a matter respecting a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board under section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act, and a matter respecting advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose under section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act. That's RFP for city-owned land located northeast of the intersection of St. David Street East and Wellington Street North. Number 2, a matter respecting advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose under section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act, Code of Conduct Complaint Protocol. Number 3, a matter respecting a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on by the municipality under section 239(2)K of the Municipal Act, Kiefer Mansion property. Number 4, a matter respecting personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, applications to fill vacant positions on committees of council. And lastly, number 5, a matter respecting a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on by the municipality, further to Section 239, 2K of the Municipal Act, 40 River Street.
Okay, so there's 5 matters there. Go ahead, Councillor DeAnge.
I'm just questioning number 2, a matter respecting advice and subject clients, including communications. It's regarding the code of conduct, complaint protocol. Why is that going into closed session? Last time we had a code of conduct complaint, we dealt with it in open session.
That was a complaint. This is advice, so I'll let the,
Yeah, this is not to discuss a specific matter. It's to provide advice about a potential proposed change to the complaint protocol.
Well, is there a complaint that's being dealt with, and that's what we're gonna get advice on?
no,
No,
So we're not dealing with any complaints? Just,
just the policy.
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna be pretty tight in closed sessions on that, because I think it should be an open session.
Anyways, okay. Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, we moved into, through you, Mr. Mayor, we moved into closed.
No, we're gonna move into closed session now.
Thank you.
We had the mover and seconder. All those in favor? Opposed?